The stock of the day is brought to you by IG, Australia's #1 CFD provider. With over 17,000 markets and extended trading hours, turn US earnings season volatility into opportunity. Get started at IG.com.
My guests today, Andrew Wielandt from DP Wealth Advisory and Mark Gardner from MPC Markets. The stock of the day is Sandfire Resources. Let's take a look at copper stocks today as exporters into the US are said to be slapped with a 50% levy on copper due later this month or from August the 1st. That is an edict coming from US President Donald Trump. Copper futures in New York surged up to 17% after the announcement. Sandfire is coming under pressure. Up off the worst of it, though, but still down by close to 4.5%. So the company does operate mines in Australia, Africa, and Europe, but it does have US projects still in the exploratory or study phase. A legal hurdle also affecting its Blackfoot copper mine in Montana, so that's in the US. Rio, just to give some perspective across the other copper miners, does have an active mine in the United States. And of course, as Donald Trump has said, that would the tariff would be applied to copper imports to the US. So I guess the question is today, does Sandfire Resources, a company which so many people have been looking to get set in because of the megatrend dynamics that are fueling copper demand worldwide, does today offer a buying opportunity? That's one way to look at it. Andrew Wielandt, DP Wealth Advisory, what do you think?
Yeah, look, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because with due respect to the US president, he'll say one thing one day, and then, we could wake up tomorrow or a week's time, and then it's a very different dynamic in a very different world. And I realise we're in a different world, but certainly the frequent US policy changes is unhelpful for all sectors of the economy. And today it's Sandfire's turn to be experiencing that unhelpfulness. I guess I look at it, and from an Australian point of view, there's very few listed copper players in which you can get exposure to because we've had a number of them taken over. We don't buy it not because we dislike it. It's more so, again, given, our sort of more ETF bias. I'd probably be looking at something like Wire if I were to be looking at copper companies. But so basically it's an ETF that looks at global copper companies. But and certainly there's no discounting the fact that copper is definitely going to be needed from that energy transition space. But as we were just talking about before as well, is that energy transition going to be delayed given, again, that change in US government policy? So lots of uncertainty there. I don't like uncertainty. Market doesn't like uncertainty. If you're holding it, it remains a hold, but I certainly wouldn't be buying it. If I wanted copper company exposure, I'd be buying Wire.
Well, Mark Gardner, MPC Markets, I happen to know that you have liked Wire in the past. Would you prefer it to gain exposure to that overall thematic rather than a Sandfire, which is one of the only sort of pure play listed copper companies in Australia?
Yeah, we hold Wire instead of Sandfire. So Freeport-McMoRan is by far and away the biggest US producer with US-based mines. Is the second biggest holding in Wire, which is just a derivative of the COPEX ETF of Global X, so just piggybacks the US ones. It's been around quite a while. It's also got Lundin, Lundin, Southern Copper as well, and Glencore, which are other very high volume US based. So you would probably much prefer to be in this today, particularly because you've seen. Obviously we saw copper go to record highs, and it might be a bit confusing for some people because there's the London Metals Exchange copper, which is around about 9,700 a tonne. And then obviously US went to the record highs last night at 580 or 590 a pound. They go in opposite directions because now there's going to be a glut of supply because of those high tariffs coming in. But if you're in the US, obviously you've got a massive advantage. So if you've got access to US stocks, Freeport-McMoRan, but domestically Rio has the second biggest mine, 170,000 metric tonnes a year. It's quite a significant operation. but then again, you're not exposed. You're exposed then to the iron ore price
Yeah.
as well. So that's the quandary that you're kind of in. We do have, BHP is obviously one of, if not the biggest in the world. I think it goes back and forth.
But their exports to US from Chile will be subject to any tariff if it comes to fruition.
I think the copper thematic overall, I've been a copper bull for a long time, so it was a bit...
Fits and starts, a bit early.
But I think that thematic overall, there's been no copper mines developed. It takes 12 years to get one online. I think once this noise goes, that thematic still goes high no matter what. And I think we'll see record prices in both the London Metal Exchange and the US over time anyway, because renewables or data centres, they all need rewiring. And recycling doesn't really do the job, so it's one of those things. So I would say Sandfire's a buy, but today I'd probably Rio, based on that tariff announcement, would be the better buy. Sandfire's really turned things around. It's a pure play, and they've been an earnings season. If they deliver again, I think this will be very much forgotten. As I said at the start of the show, it felt to me like Trump made up that number on the spot this morning, and it's very likely that it will be rescinded at some stage. So I think you'll see a bounce back. So a buy.
Got it. Thank you. I will wrap it there because you've brought us right back to the beginning. Thank you, Mark Gardner, MPC Markets, Andrew Whiteland from DP Wealth Advisory. That is your stock of the day.
The stock of the day was brought to you by IG. Turn volatility into opportunity this US earnings season with extended trading hours on over 110 key US shares. Get started at IG.com.